Hey, what's up, everybody? This is In the Now, where we talk about what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and the IFBB Pro League today. My name's Eddie Miranda, and I have my partner here, Tom Cox, and we're going to discuss a couple of topics that pretty much is on everybody's mind right now, as far as it comes to what's really happening in the world, right? If you guys aren't aware, right now we're actually, doing social distancing, as everybody will kind of say. We are basically, I'm in Miami, Tom is in North Carolina, and we're practicing our social distancing as of today. But you know, I have to admit, man, I really have been one of those people that have been listening, watching everything that's going on with the news and media. And as days go by and new facts come, my opinion about everything that's happening changes on a daily basis, right? It went from like this huge hysteria, oh my God, don't go out, this is the worst thing ever. And everybody's trying to disprove, what really, how bad this really kind of is, and with no information, I think really what ended up happening, the media itself put everybody into a high panic mode, right? Everybody, this is the worst thing. We got to close our borders. I think this is a huge, huge thing in the sense that's like it's really media driven at this point with everything that's kind of happening. I know, Tom, you've been really like a part of this in your personal perspective of what's happening in North Carolina. It's far worse happening here in Miami with what's going on with all the closures, but I know in North Carolina you're getting hit with this as well too, with how everything has been shifting and moving around as the weeks go by, right?
Well, yeah, I think you can look at just we're kind of a week behind from everything that happened in Miami. Uh, Me living in a small rural town, we didn't really see it coming. Everybody was kind of going about their day to day life, and next thing we know, businesses are shutting down. My gym that I work at shut down last Friday until further notice. So I think the reality has really just hit people hard this week and not really knowing what's to come next. I mean, this is all unprecedented. We've never seen anything
Yeah.
like this. And don't get us wrong, guys. We're not really choosing sides politically or what's really going on, who's wrong or who's right with this situation. I think it's very important for all of us just to understand, uh, you know, our role in this and control what we can and adhere to the CDC and everything else that the instructions that we've been given. Stay at home. I know it's tough for the bodybuilding community, guys and girls that were a couple weeks out from their shows. Some of my clients that I was working with, it was devastating. But it could be a lot worse, and we should all understand and not take for granted what we did have. But we're all going to get through this. It's just yet to be seen how this is really going to shift the bodybuilding season, the Olympia in 2020, what things are really going to shake out to be. But that's really what our aim here is, just to create that topic of discussion, get your guys' thoughts and insights about it, and we can just really create that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, other than just, I mean, let's put aside bodybuilding for a second. Let's put aside bodybuilding for a second because I really think that this hit a lot of people in a lot of different ways. You know, get now, mind you, everybody's compared this to the flu pandemic. You could even compare this to the 2009 N1 H1N1 virus pandemic that 61,000 people actually died because of that pandemic alone, right? But it wasn't a huge media hysteria, kind of like how it is now. With the added pressure in media and everything like that, it's forced a lot of governments to take actions that, in at the end result, would actually cause more harm than actual good. Because we see that in today's economy today, we've been seeing that for the past couple of weeks here in the United States, that closing all our stores, closing all our borders, closing everything that we can, making sure everybody's at home is actually causing more damage than the actual infection itself. Now, think about it this way. And I don't even know the numbers, and I'm taking the numbers off the top of my head. So please don't like verbatim say like this is what I said, because I really don't know. I think it's about 400 to 500 people that have passed away in the United States because of this. 20,000 people are infected that are documented. Now, I say documented because of the fact that there are people around that are carrying this virus that don't know that they do. It's the same thing as the flu. The flu, how many times have you guys had the flu and stayed at home? That's exactly what's kind of happening with this. It's like you have thousands and thousands of undocumented cases that people that actually do have it versus people that have actually been registered and versus the amount of death. Now, with that said, let's say 400 to 500 people have only passed away because of this. Millions and millions, 3 million people just finished losing their jobs because of this. I think that that's more harm, caused onto everybody as a whole than the actual virus itself. And I mean, that's like my opinion, because I see them, like I've been seeing the numbers and I see what's really happening in the economy, and more people are getting affected by us closing down everything than the actual virus itself. Now, do you think like do you think that that's true? I mean, dude, come on. I mean, it's really like it's really been blown a lot over the top than what it really needs to be.
Yes, I agree, and for sure, I'm like no civics and economics expert, so I really leave that in the hands of our the people in place, the governments, to make the best decisions for the people. But it does come to a point. I do agree that the solution can become worse than the actual issue, and that will be followed by death. You have people that are going without money, going without means of paying rent, paying their car payments. The first of the month is right around the corner, and I think that's when we're really going to see possible mass hysteria break loose. So I hope they do come to a better solution, or it's a little bit more transparent with what we need to do and how we're going to get through this, and more of a dead set timeline of what we can expect to really come out of our houses and go back to a normal life again.
No, and the thing is, like I've been watching every single task force conference since about like last week, and you could definitely tell the switch and the perspective of how they're talking, the way they're saying things. Because the first week that all this really happened, it was the news attacking every little.
Oh, it got serious real quick.
It got serious real quick. I mean, even to the point that we were fighting over what the virus was called and it being racist. I mean, come on. I mean, instead of people getting together, the media getting together and be like, okay, we have this one common thing. We need to make sure that everybody's safe. It was actually causing more and more issues than that. I remember there was one conference that they did that basically what ended up happening was Trump called out an NBC reporter. I think it was NBC if I'm not mistaken. Basically said that he does bad press and everything like that. CNN, the very first thing that they talk about right after the conference was done, oh my God, they attacked this guy from NBC. I'm like, dude, instead of talking about that, talk about the real issues. And I think that that's kind of where it lies. That's where everything is getting really mixed up with. It's like the news is really trying to carry this into a way that's not supposed to. Now, for the past few days, the tone inside that room has changed. In fact, the tone from yesterday's meeting has completely changed to the point that I feel like they're almost trying to make it seem like it's really not that bad. It really is really not that bad, and we're actually causing more harm than good to our own people.
No.
It's just one of those things that I just feel that the more and more as things go on, the more and more as we look back at everything that's happening, I'm like, this is not as serious as really people think. I think what's going to end up happening is that what's really serious is the economy falling, people losing their jobs. The result of people losing their jobs because they can't make rent, they can't pay for their family. The depression part, because I think it happened in 2008, and I think it also happened in 2001 when the economy dropped. There was more, the suicide rate jumped, right? And the same thing will happen. I think more people will probably, have, there will be more suicides than what the actual virus actually does, you know? And again, you don't have to take my word for it, and I'm just saying my opinion about it. These aren't true facts, and I'm just saying what I've seen and how I've seen stuff done. Now, as far as affecting the bodybuilding community, like, how do you feel like this has really affected it? Because I think it's affected it a lot. Well, how do you think that this has affected just the bodybuilding community alone?
In bodybuilding, especially, the magnitude of all of this is astronomical. You got guys that, competitors, athletes that pretty much put everything aside for these shows to get their qualifications to compete in the biggest show in the world, Mr. Olympia. And, all of that is potentially a wash now. Yeah. We have yet to see if this season is going to, if it will start back up after the beginning of May. Yeah. 2020 may be a complete wash altogether. We don't know. And it also just sets the schedule back. If you're postponing these events, postponing these shows, how are these people going to be able to qualify? I mean, are these shows going to be that stacked with so many athletes competing in each one in the same shows? Maybe that could lead to some more potential excitement later in the year. Yeah. But I just don't see how we're really going to be able to come back from that just from what's happened in the past couple of weeks. This has never happened before. No. And people's money and income and way of living all depends on competing.
No, 100%. I mean, even my business, I rely on a whole lot of stuff. This has definitely shut down a lot of my business.
Which is why y'all haven't seen us in a while.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all Eddy.
Hey, man, I got a family. I got people to take care of. So
I'm just messing with you.
I had to make adjustments. I think like everybody is. I think I had to make adjustments. Unlike majority of the people that I see on Instagram, not making the adjustments for what's really to come, basically. Because I'm sorry, there is going to be a shift. Even the president himself is saying that we're considering doing different methods of healthcare, doing different methods of how we do schooling, just because of this. So don't be surprised if things actually change. But do you think, now, like what you just said, a lot of people have based their business off of this. A lot of people make their money off of this. Do you think it's an overreaction from some bodybuilders that literally, for instance, some of them were a couple of days from the Arnold Classic and they got so pissed off. Excuse me. They got so pissed off because they couldn't compete and they spent, however many weeks in order to make it there. But I think the perspective on, this might, but I'm also going to ask you, but I think the perspective on that was that I think it almost felt like a little bit too selfish. Because, oh my God, I couldn't compete. And, I trained this hard in order, instead of like, okay, this is what's really happening. And yeah, I have to kind of bite the bullet because it could happen to anybody. I've been in preps that I've dedicated all my life to, and 10 days before I had to drop out. You know what I mean? So it's like, what's your take on that? Because I feel that was kind of like a little bit selfish from some bodybuilders.
Well, I feel there's two sides to the coin with that. Bodybuilding itself just is a selfish sport. And just going back to what I said before, is as an athlete, your sole source of income is how you compete. You're as good as your last performance, your last show. And a lot of competitors had to, whether they're redeeming themselves from their last show, they're making a comeback after an injury. It is very disheartening, and it's just a human nature that you're gonna you lose your shit. You're going to be very upset. But yeah, you look at the perspective of everything else that's going on in the world. People are dying from this, so it can't be taken lightly. It, you know, it can be very selfish, yes, but at the end of the day, you got to look out for, you know, what you're doing yourself to make sure you're making ends meet. If you have a family, you have to make sure your family's taken care of. What are these guys to do now that they don't have that outlet to compete? Any way to make extra money, and not to mention the money that's been invested into weeks and weeks of prep, and their coach, their team, their sponsor, all that money is just squandered. You know, it is a hard pill to swallow, but I think and what I've seen that really grinds my gears the most is the amateur athletes that haven't even gotten to that point yet of, being an IFBB pro, competing at that level, having endorsements. You haven't gotten to that point yet. Why are you complaining when, your life is not impacted nearly as much? And at this point in your competitive career, you should be staying in shape. You should be ready. You should be ready year round, because you're trying to get to that qualification, trying to earn that pro card, pro status. And, more than likely, if you're an amateur competitor, unless you're living at home with your mom and dad, you have to work too on top of it. So, you're going to be impacted with that. And a lot of businesses shutting down, no employment. A lot of people are filing for unemployment now. But it really, if you're complaining because you don't have access to a gym and you don't have the creativity enough to really make things work on your own, that gives you an excuse to sit on the couch and eat and, just get fat over these next few weeks, then this really isn't for you. And that's just my opinion on it. But that's coming from the perspective of an amateur competitor working their way up. But now if I'm a pro and I put everything into this, and this is going to be my pro debut or biggest show to date, I think you have like maybe 24 hours where you can piss and moan. But, you got to get with everybody else and, suffer through this time too, and see what you need to do once we get out of it.
Again, everybody's had to make their adjustments, to all this. A lot of professional and mind you, I see a lot of professional bodybuilders. I see some bodybuilders in private gyms, like I've seen on Instagram, so they're still training. But I've seen some major bodybuilders at home, like just doing whatever they can because they really don't have access to any gym, or they can't get keys. Now, mind you, I know a lot of gyms here, a lot of gym owners here in Miami, and I could have asked any one of them, I'm like, hey, can you give me access? But, first of all, I don't want to do that, because I don't want to be selfish in that respect. And two, like, I don't want to take advantage of anybody, especially in a time like this. If I didn't go to the gym before, like, why am I going to ask them to go now? You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, because of this happening, and then what happens after this happens? Like, well, I'll stop going to the gym. So it's like, I don't know. There's some places that still have gyms open. I think Texas still has gyms open, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
And there are going to be those gym owners, those independent owners that are not going to shut their doors, I'm sure. And you know it too.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah, they're going to just look the other way. Maybe like, I know I've heard of some gyms allowing like 10 or less people to come in at a time.
So we have a gym here called Infamous Fitness. And they were trying that. They're trying to let only 10 people in, but then there's people waiting outside. So then people were taking, there was a 45-minute cutoff. People were taking longer than other people and not being selfish about it, basically, right?
Whew.
And so he literally had to be like, that's it, you guys screwed this up. Like, I can't
Yeah.
You're being too selfish. You know what I mean?
Here's a solution. Here's an idea. Wherever get to it, eventually, take your stimulus check, go to Amazon, and get a total gym. There you go. You have your workout. You have everything you need at home.
Yeah. So, by the way, we do have an ebook out now that teaches you how to work out from home and how to make your own gym at home. So we got that resource too, just in case.
Not a selfish plug.
not a selfish plug whatsoever. But yeah, so now I want to kick this around because I want to see the possibilities of stuff happening, right, in the league. And mind you, the IFBB has released statements in the sense of, you know, how they're going to redo the qualifications, given the fact that this happened, where certain shows have shifted because of this itself, right? Now, given the fact that after yesterday's press conference, it seemed like they're going to be making a shift. It seems like the shift that they're going to be making is that we're going to have protective measures in place. We're going to have somewhat of a treatment, which they say has been shown in some cases to drop the symptoms within 6 days. They even said that one person that was literally on the brink of death took this medication, and within hours he started waking up from his coma and he started getting back to life. And now the fact that now we have these at-home test kits that's happening, right? That's everybody's fear, is that, first of all, the reason why we haven't been able to conduct as many tests is because there hasn't been enough protective equipment for the people conducting the tests to protect themselves from the actual virus. So yeah, we have tests, but we don't have enough equipment in order to substantiate that. Now, given the fact that we're going to have at-home tests within the next couple of weeks, they have put up production for certain things like sanitizer, ventilators, masks, all this stuff gets kicked up into high gear, right? And if we produce all of that within the next week to 2 weeks, and on the 15th day, the president goes, look, we have all this stuff. We have all our ventilators. We have all our masks. Everybody get a mask. Everybody get a home test kit. Do this. We are going to start proceeding back to normal and having the government go back to normal. Everybody start opening up their doors. Here's your stimulus package in order for you to pay your employees, get everything back running, and pretend like nothing ever happened. And we're back running within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Let's say that's hypothetical, right? Do you think that the shows that were canceled before in that 2-month period for the IFBB will actually be switched and put back into schedule, and we could see the Pittsburgh Pro again? We could see, you know, the other shows that were canceled because of this. Do you think that that's a possibility?
To be honest, at this point, I don't see there being any backtracking. I think what's done is done with the scheduling as of right now. I think the earliest that we're going to be able to see a show, and is at this point right now, would be early May, just like the official NPC website said. I mean, you know, J.M. Mannion, Pittsburgh, that's his show. He'd do anything in his power to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And just because it's the biggest show for top bodybuilders to come and do their guest posing routines, that's always exciting to see. And it is sad. You know, we might have to go a year potentially without it altogether, unless maybe they can work it into being postponed, but I just don't really foresee that being realistic with the show schedules, unless they just got rid of the smaller shows altogether. Mm-hmm. and just kept their top tier shows for later in the year.
No, I mean, like, I see it as a possibility. Like, I see it as, you know, a little bit of a, you know, and I'm saying hypothetical, you know, if that really does happen. I see that, you know, there could be the possibility of doing that. Now, as far as on the athlete side, I really don't think that that's going to happen. Because what really ends up happening is that, let's say a lot of people were prepping for Pittsburgh Pro. Like, I know Santi was prepping for Pittsburgh Pro. Now he's like, oh, now Pittsburgh Pro's not happening. I'm going to go to New York Pro. So you have some athletes that's like, okay, well, I can't do this show. Let me just go into the next one a little bit later, and I'm still on prep. But then there's people that were gunning for that show, weren't going to do any other shows afterwards, and they stopped their prep. Now let's say, oh yeah, now Pittsburgh Pro's back up in the next 2 weeks. Do you think the athlete can make that shift again in order to get stage ready by the time that that show would happen?
They can, but they're not going to be at 100%.
Yeah.
And I've told, being a coach, I've told that to all my athletes that, this is the time right now to get ahead. Because, that's the mindset of everybody. It gives them an excuse to not, I don't have access to a gym. I don't have a treadmill at home. Why even bother?
Yeah.
What people fail to realize is that you're not going to instantly become catabolic and lose pounds of muscle within 2 months. And that's, without working with weight, just to stimulate and keep it and maintain it. It doesn't work like that. And as soon as you get back into the gym, you're going to blow up again. But it does matter if you get off your diet, you're sitting on the couch, you're eating bad food, you're just sedentary all day. Your body's going to change a lot, and you're going to do some irreparable damage within that time frame to be able to go back into a full-on prep mentally and physically to get yourself in the best shape possible within a matter of weeks. Yeah. It's one of those things. You just got to stick through it, nose to the grindstone, and get through these times this week. And still, the closest show for one of my guys in particular, I was like, just look at this, because we were rushing him into a show. He wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, take this as a blessing, because I know he really wanted to do this show. I wanted him to do this show. He got nationally qualified his first show. And now he's probably going to go straight into a warm-up show and then Universe national show. Mm-hmm. So I was like, just take this as kind of a blessing, as a lot of competitors really should. Being able to work without a gym, learn how to adapt, and make the most of it. Yeah, you're going to have to adapt your diet. If you're not going to be burning as many calories, eat less calories.
Yeah.
Communicate with your coach.
That's kind of hard sitting on the couch where we have nothing else to do.
It is very tough. And honestly, I just started my prep officially, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Just going into this with this kind of mindset, it is very challenging. And it was we all look forward to that, hour and a half, 2 hour window in our day where we can kind of escape from everything else in the world and put our headphones in and lift some iron. But we don't have that right now. Yeah. That was a luxury that a lot of us took for granted. But we still can move forward and not lose any progress. Now, are we going to make progress as fast without, the equipment that we need? No, but you shouldn't let that discourage you from just throwing in the towel altogether. Yeah. And I just feel like I'm seeing that a lot through social media. People are just falling off the wagon completely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, let's say, for instance, it does end up staying for that 2 month period. Let's say the IFBB Pro League did it for 2 months. They put the shows on pause or canceled some of the shows for a 2 week period. What if something happens and it does go past that? The New York Pro gets cut off. The Chicago Pro gets shut off. A lot of these pro shows that after that 2 month period, if they slowly get shut down or whatever the case may be, do you think it's in the right position to push back the Olympia at that time in order to have certain competitors to try to compete and move the cutoff time? Because I know Tampa Pro is the last show of the year for the season, not last show of the year as in the year, but the last show of the year for the season. Do you think that it's wise to push that back and wise to probably push back the Olympia just, a few weeks in order for people to catch up?
wise, maybe, but if it's really realistically feasible, I don't think so. Just because Dan Solomon just made a post with the official Olympia LLC page that they are still 100% gung-ho for the date set in September. Nothing has changed. They're not pulling back their budget. They're putting everything into that show for that date, that time, that place. They're going to have to do something with the qualification, the point system. I don't see a way around it at this point. Do you think the people that were previously qualified or the top competitors from the year before, maybe that's the best way to do it? Some people are going to get, the shaft on that. But I mean, what else can they really do? And the same thing with the Athleticon, which is the big year for that to be held in October. So you got two huge shows right at the end of the year. And from what we've heard, nothing has hindered or stopped progress to preparing for it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that show is literally about 2 months after the Olympia. It's more towards the end of the year.
So end of October?
Yeah. So
I know it's in October.
Yeah. So remember September.
The second week in September, the Olympia.
Okay, so it's a month and a half, or 4 to 5 weeks difference between those. I think it is. The qualification for that is a whole lot different. The qualification for that is almost like an Arnold Classic. You have to meet a certain criteria in order to meet that. So it doesn't matter if you've competed or not. They have their criteria very high because they're looking for past Mr. Olympias. They're looking for people that placed top 5 the year before, only the year before. They're only looking at certain kinds of winners and stuff like that. So the qualification for that is different than what will be the Olympia. The Olympia, every show revolves around being qualified for the Olympia.
Right.
So it could be that they still have the Olympia, but it could be that the Olympia could look like the Arnold Classic from this past year. No more than 12 competitors for men's physique. There's usually about anywhere from 32 to 35 competitors on that stage. Bikini, no more than 15. There's usually about 35 girls on that stage for bikini. It just things like that. So it's like, if they do keep the date, if they do proceed forward, I just don't think it's going to be as a big show competitor-wise as it has been in the past years. I mean, if you sat in that expo on Saturday and seen bikini and seen men's physique and seen women's physique, the competitors are on there for an hour and a half between posing routines, comparisons, and awards. I think that's kind of lengthy, but I understand it's the Olympia. You have everybody that's one show's going, stepping on that stage. But I also feel that a lot of those competitors aren't as competitive to the top of the field that's on that stage.
Agreed, and I feel like it is too big, the playing field, but that's neither here or there right now. Do you think that that's really going to be the way they're going to go with it? Maybe just to limit the number of competitors for each division based on the qualification. Again, if they don't change the time.
Yeah, I mean, again, nothing's been confirmed from the IFBB, and this is all speculation, right? But it could be a possibility that to limit the numbers. I mean, right now, as it stands, it's not in bodybuilding, it's not in women's physique, it's not in fitness, it's not in any of those categories. But if you go with bikini and you go with men's physique, they actually have an elimination round before they start actually doing real comparisons. So that would just eliminate that. I mean, dude, I'm sorry. And I'm looking at it from the athlete's perspective, right? Because I'm a huge advocate for the athlete. If I busted my butt to get on that Olympia stage, to get onto an elimination round, that they look at me real quick and be like, no, you're not it, no, you're not it, no, you're not it, and didn't have a real chance to compete, that's more disheartening for me as an athlete than anything else. So given the fact that maybe this could be a lower number of people at the Olympia, I think that that would be better and not have so many, because at the very beginning they're trying to weed out to 15. You know what I mean? In an elimination round, because they're going to be like, okay, there's a top 15. Okay, everybody else is going to compete for real, and everybody else, yeah, here's your jacket, you're done, bye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of athletes probably express that as well. It's like there's an elimination round, and I really don't get to compete, and how's that going to kind of look like?
Yeah.
And I understand why they did it, because there's so many men's physique shows, there's so many bikini shows that they need to try to figure out who's going to be in the top that day. But if you don't have to do that and go in with like, this is the 15 for this year, it's going to be a great show. And that's my opinion and what I see from what I've seen in past years, especially in that expo.
Right. Hold tight, guys. We're going to answer your questions in a little bit here.
But now, like, in the sense of, man, I just really want to see how like this kind of all like really plays out. So many things are up in the air. So many, so much fake news. So much of everything. It's just literally put everything into a serious mass hysteria, in which I don't think it really needed to, man.
It's just very disheartening because there were so many big things in this year, 2020 year of bodybuilding. This was going to be a huge, huge year. And it still can be. It still can be. But, yeah, this just turned everything upside down.
No, I mean, it was going to be a big year for everybody.
Yeah.
I can't say this or repeat this enough. Dexter Jackson, which is fine.
I hate it for him, man. I'm glad he at least had that swan
Classic
song at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. That is probably the most emotional moment in bodybuilding history that I've.
That's literally his last. That literally had become his last time stepping on stage before the Olympia itself, because he had 2 other competitions.
Yeah.
To win a couple more, to make a statement before he actually leaves, and I feel like he can't do that. What's this athlete this bodybuilder that's trying to make his pro debut, Abu Waka or something like that? He's actually,
I haven't followed.
Okay, so he's actually up in Palm Beach. He trains with Flex Lewis and Neil Hill and all those people, and his pro debut was going to be in Arnold, Australia. You should have seen the meme. He got all pissed. He had his little luggage. He's like, I'm going to Wakanda. But it's really affected this sport and many other sports on top of that. I forgot what was the basketball player that said, like, this was supposed to be my final season.
Vince Carter.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. He said, the game's been very good to me. I can't, argue that, but just to kind of get blindsided by it. Oh yeah, by the way, this will be your final NBA game.
Yeah.
That has to be so devastating. And just for, I'm not a big fan of LeBron James. Sorry. But I'm not, but I still feel for him because he's, potentially losing another shot at getting another ring.
Yeah.
Athletes all across the board, man. It's tough.
Again, like, and I understand it's a virus, it's fast spreading and stuff like that, but I think us shutting everything down the way it got shut down caused more harm than actually did good. I really do think so. I mean, it really put everybody in position, in a position that we just couldn't. Literally, it's like we couldn't even see it coming, right?
Yeah.
At least with 9/11, we were, we saw it. Okay, crap, we're in tow for the next few weeks. you know, but it didn't happen overnight. Things start falling little by little, you know, and we picked ourselves back up. 2008, that was a momentous, like, okay, it's going down, it's going down. Okay, the bubble popped, and you know, everybody knew that that was happening. You know, things were getting worse. This is literally like we just shut everybody off in 1 week. You know, and that's devastating to a lot of people. Millions and millions of people have lost. Sorry, I had to do the Donald Trump. Have lost their jobs, have lost some sort of finance because of this, and it's really disheartening, man. You know, there's people that are walking around with this thing that don't even know that they have it, don't even need to be hospitalized for it. They're just a carrier, and mind you, we discussed this when we were in Columbus. I mean, the herpes virus, right? Everybody has that virus in them. It's dormant. If you had chickenpox as you were a little kid, you have the herpes virus, believe it or not. Now, the only way that it gets brought up, in which I've had two situations that kind of happened, that I've had breakouts, is when I was extremely stressed and my immune system was to the tank.
Like shingles. Yeah.
I had shingles. I had it's not Epstein-Barr, but it was a different thing. But that all comes from the herpes virus. You know, we all have the antibodies for the flu virus, but every single year it's a different strain of the flu virus. So why is that not epidemic? Because it's normal culture. We have vaccines for it. The only reason why people went out because we don't have a treatment for it. We don't have a vaccine for it. You know, and I think that that's kind of happening. I think that's going to be happening in the next two weeks. That we're going to have some sort of way to start treating people. You know, and then it's not going to be such a big deal anymore.
Well, let's hope so. I just hope the devastation of all of this doesn't continue to increase day to day, and the deaths just multiply. I really do hope just on the other side. I like to stay optimistic about everything and every situation, that maybe even after 9/11, everybody had that sense of patriotism and pride. We all came together. You know, maybe something similar can come from this. Yeah. And at least I know, if anything, that people are going to be more conscious, more cautious about sanitation. Yeah. And,
100%.
I'm not going to be looking at shaking hands with everybody the same way anymore. It's something that was just a social norm. And as a businessman, a gentleman, how many times you shake hands and open the doors to the gym and little things like this is always going to be in the back of my head. And I think it's going to be like that with every American.
I'm just thinking about like the memes that I've seen through this entire thing, because again, and I relate back to that press conference that happened yesterday. It's like, they say like we learned a lot from social distancing, right? And they're saying that because, again, I think that that's the direction where everything's going to kind of go. I posted up something the other day, was Demolition Man. Demolition Man basically predicted where our society is going to be going. So if you notice, like Sylvester Stallone, which was a Spartan, got cryogenically freeze in 96, and then he got reawoken in 2032. 12 years from now, right? 2032. And the way that they shook hands is like this. Touch, like, like the Star Trek thing, with wave their hands. They used 3 seashells for the toilet. No more toilet paper. Right?
How does I don't even know how that works.
They never described it. They never said how it worked. They laughed about, he doesn't know about the 3 seashells. But I'm like, okay, what the hell are the 3 seashells? But apparently that became the new method of wiping your butt. All right, and then on top of that, now we are fast food dependent. Drive-through fast food. Taco Bell was the high-class fast food chain. That was the only fast food chain through that entire time.
It's funny how that works. More Taco Bell, more toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just so funny that kind of like predicted where we're going.
Yeah.
But I really do think that that's where it's going, because the Trump was already talking about, telehealth, right? People are loving telehealth, and what that's going to do, that's going to eliminate so many people going to doctors, so many people going to the hospital to get a checkup when they really don't necessarily need to be there for certain things, right? He said that we're probably going to put this to our schools. We've seen great responses of kids at home doing good. We may do this from K to 12. In fact, the state of Florida is already doing that. So what I think what's really going to end up happening there is that they're going to eliminate what would always be a potential trouble zone. Schools are always trouble zones. Kids are always getting sick at schools because they pass it from one to the other, but the parents don't, right? Kids could transmit hepatitis and they may not show it, but they could transfer it to other kids. That was one of the studies that got done. Minimal contact with people, things like, I think could be a possibility where things are going to be kind of going. It's going to be a shift.
It's definitely created a shift. Yeah. Well, let's take a shift back to the topic of bodybuilding and answer some of the questions here.
Yeah. Why does the IFBB Pro League judges keep changing their standards and portions on the categories? Sam, so that is basically a simple question to ask. A lot of judges see physiques a little bit different. They always try to stay within the same category. But what's also kind of happening too is that they're really still more trying to define what's really happening in each category. Like they're saying men's physique, they're looking too big. Not that they're bigger than classic physique competitors, but they just look too big in their proportions and they want to start bringing that down. So you're going to see a lot of criteria for those kind of divisions being changed and being slided just a little bit here and there. Like they just finished coming out with a new rule for bikini, in the sense that you can only have your hand in a specific position when you do your hand pose, like when you have your hand to the waist.
No more teapot.
No more teapot, because that's wellness, and a lot of bikini girls were doing it. They may change on how they present their pose just a little bit because they want to differentiate the two between wellness and bikini, even though the looks are completely different. If you notice, wellness has bigger legs. They're not as lean, but they just look like they have like a bigger, less tight, less shredded physique, a little bit more muscular, but they are not shredded or looking like a figure girl or a women's physique girl. So it just they're just really trying to nail down on what the categories or the divisions are really looking like, because it is ever changing, and they want to really kind of nail that down, like kind of like how bodybuilding is already kind of nailed down with what they're looking for. So how do we qualify if we don't have a show? So famous, they sent out a new list of qualification shows that are going to be happening. What's really going to happen as it stands right now, the way the IFBB Pro has presented it, is that after May 10th, which is literally the weekend after Pittsburgh Pro, there's still going to be about a month and a half of qualification shows. And they're also going to be shifting some of the shows that got canceled or postponed into those slots in order for you to be able to qualify. Now, is there going to be as many people qualified? We don't know yet. But it's definitely something that we have to keep our eye on, and whatever shows that they do have between the end of the qualification season, which that's another thing, they may change the ends of the qualification season in order for them to have more people on the Olympia stage. So I would just suggest that you follow the IFBB Pro League for that, because they will have information when it arises based off of the qualifications itself.
I would count on more athletes being at the qualification shows, though.
Yeah. With all that's going on in NYC, do you think my pro will happen? So Ace.
Oh yes, Ace. What's up, Ace?
Yeah. So Ace. Again, it's kind of hard to tell with that, because New York Pro is the show right after the cutoff for that. Now, what could really happen is that now that show could be extremely saturated, because Arabelle is waiting to do a show, and they're like, well, the first show that's coming is New York Pro. But the situation in New York is kind of difficult because they are talking about sectioning off certain parts of the city, and pretty much putting only certain parts of the city on hold, but not the rest of the city, because the rest of the city does need to function. You know, like Dow Jones, all the banks, you know, all that stuff needs to still happen. So I think in New York, it's you really have to do a day by day to see what's kind of happening. I know the governor is trying to do everything he can there, in order to make things happen. So just keep an eye on that, Ace, to see what's going on with the New York Pro. Again, for right now, it's still going on, but we don't know how intense the situation could happen in New York, because again, nobody's paying attention to, hey, I gotta stay at home. Nobody's paying attention to that. Everybody's still on the roads doing their thing over there. So
I wouldn't let off the gas though. It's right
yeah,
now, like you said, it's still on. So
yeah. Don't let off the gas. Yeah, don't let
what's
off
up, Hector?
the gas. Oh, we got Mendoza there.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? We have Gonzalez that's asked, I'm from Mexico, Pittsburgh, North American will change the date September. No, as of right now, no, they have not made any announcements about anything after the time of shut off for the IFBB and NPC. So as of right now, Pittsburgh North Americans is still going on as planned, per Gary Udit. So, you know, again, everything, you know, we know as much information as you guys know. We get everything from the IFBB Pro website and their Instagram pages. So anything that we know, they've probably already announced, and they are announcing things as they're happening. They, you know, again, everybody's changing their plan day by day, um, day by day, based off of what's happening, the adjustments they have to make. I mean, we in Miami, we're at complete shutdown. Tom's a week behind. So every location, every state, every city is being handled differently as it would be as a whole national thing. Everybody has to shut down, or, you know, everybody has to do this. You know, every state, city, county is handling this in a different way. So just be attentive to, you know, what's happening in Pittsburgh. And I don't believe at this time that that date's going to change whatsoever.
Yeah, man. I just got word yesterday. All restaurants, bars, gyms will be shutting down as of tomorrow at 5:00 p.m. in North Carolina.
Yeah, see that all happened to us last week.
So we're a little behind. Yeah.
Yeah, all that happened to us last week, in the sense of, like, we had to shut down, and literally I saw it and I sent it to all my friends that are gym owners. I'm like, bro, I can't believe that this actually happened. Shut down all the gyms. That was like the last thing that they decided to shut down, because they shut down all the restaurants. They shut down, you know, everything that had mass gatherings, everything like that. And I'm
actually shocked they targeted the gyms later, because you got to think about everything that can be transmitted.
Yeah, I know.
Gym. Everybody's touching everything.
Yeah.
Everything's pretty chill in Nashville, though, according to Hector.
Most stores are closed.
What are you doing in Nashville, man?
I think that's where he lives. Oh. I don't know.
Does he like country music?
Yeah, no, he he jumps around everywhere.
Yeah,
he jumps around everywhere, man.
Guy's a nomad.
I know, man. He works from his car. Yeah, man. Ace. Yeah, Miami Beach is officially shut down. Dude, I mean, we're really shut down, but I know Miami Beach and City Miami is more shut down than anything else. Oh my God.
Thank God.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
We couldn't be friends anymore if you did.
Man. Oh man. Dude, this is again, man, this is crazy, man. I actually did my very first home workout yesterday using my friend's band system. I'm like, I had to do something, man.
Something.
Had to do something. I did. Yeah, anti-country music. I'm with you, bro. Even though it's the number one genre in the world, I am not up for country music.
In the world?
In the world.
No.
Yeah.
Outside of the United States, country music is big.
It's huge.
Bullshit.
It is huge outside of the US, bro. Huge. You don't believe it, but it is.
Oh, no.
Oh my God, dude.
The world just got a little darker.
Dude, you live in North Carolina, bro.
I know. I'm like in the midst of it, in the Bible Belt.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, man. Vicente Fernandez, dude, he's just nuts, man. He's just crazy. Oh my God.
He just came on here to troll.
Yeah, no, he always does. He has nothing else better to do. That's why he's on our live stream. He's not working for the competition right now.
No.
So
he's practicing his social distancing. He's probably indoors. Don't send. Okay, let me just put a PSA out there. Please, everybody, stop tagging me in push-up competitions. We're not even going to say my Instagram tag anymore.
But Hector just did.
Yeah, I know he's going to do it. He's going to put it up. Everybody go send Tom push-up competitions. That's him.
Oh man! All right, cool. So I think at this point we'll end the show right now. I mean, we discussed a lot of stuff. We love you, Hector. We love you, Hector. So I think we'll pretty much like wrap it up there. You know, we discussed a lot of topics that I know a lot of people are really, you know, wondering about or, you know, have questions about. But, you know, I think that this is going to be earlier than later, man. You know, I really do think that.
I hope so. I hope so for the sport, for everybody, for the world.
Yeah.
I just hope this all comes to pass very soon.
I mean, again, we don't need an economic crisis that's going to affect the entire country for something, you know, that could be managed, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here it comes. All right, yeah, we need to cut it off now.
Yeah, we're about to cut it off.
Fly. All right, guys, so we'll continue to do this. I like having the Q&A.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll continue to do this. So be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and order our ebook,
which will be down below. So yeah, guys, remember it helps our channel immensely that if you guys could subscribe to it, like it, of course. And any comments or any topics that you want us to discuss in the future, just put them in the comment box down below, and we'll make sure that we'll discuss it on the next show. So until next time, there's Eddy Miranda, and I have Tom Cox with me. This is In and Out, and we'll see you guys later.